Narrated by Gilly Bond. Lady Eleanor's good list for being bad. Be alone in a room when not sleeping. Chapter 1.
"Not there, my lady,"
the bookseller said, unhelpfully, because obviously what Eleanor was looking for wasn't there, since she didn't have it in her immaculately gloved hand. She turned to regard him, raising her nose and her eyebrows simultaneously. It was a talent she'd learned from her father, the Duke of Marymount, who had taught her little else. Not that she needed to know much from a gentleman such as her father. All that was required of the Duke's eldest daughter was to behave properly, marry well, and then give birth to more little children whose only talents might also be in the raising of facial attributes.
"They take after their mother,"
her husband might say, fondly. At the moment, her imagined husband looked like Lord Carson, eldest son and heir to the Marquis of Wheatley, at least according to her parents. It wasn't a future Lady Eleanor Howlett was necessarily looking forward to, but then again, it was what was expected of her. What was, since the unfortunate elopement of her younger sister Della, with the dancing instructor hired to teach the Howlett girls, required of her, so her remaining 3 sisters could escape the scandalous stigma Della had brought on the family. She just wished she had more time before having to go ahead with repairing the family's reputation, on the basis of 2 words, "I will," spoken to a gentleman she hadn't chosen for herself. Just time to do some things that were not entirely expected. She'd even begun making a list. Though the things she wished to do were hardly shocking, it was unlikely she would be able to do any of them. A sad statement on her life, if she were being honest with herself. But none of these thoughts had anything to do with the book she did want. As opposed to the husband she did not. "Where is it, then?" she asked. Her maid, Cotswold, glanced in her direction, clearly keen to raise a ruckus should the bookseller not oblige her mistress. Cotswold didn't share her interest in ancient mythology, but Cotswold was always determined that her lady get whatever it was she wanted. Unfortunately, her maid did not have a say in what husband she got, or the things she would never get to do. The man pointed past her shoulder. "Over in that second room. It's where I keep the rarer books, you see." "No, I do not see," Eleanor murmured, making her way through the narrow aisles toward where the man had pointed. She did not see because her mother would not allow her to wear her spectacles in public, and this bookshop, even though it was not a place anyone of her acquaintance would patronize, was a public place. "My lady," Cotswold said, in a clearly questioning tone. "Just stay there. I will be out in a moment," Eleanor replied in a terse tone. A young lady was never allowed to be alone except when sleeping, and Eleanor seldom got to truly relish those times, being asleep and all. It was on her list, in fact. But now, for just a few moments, she was alone. Granted, she was in a dusty bookshop heading toward what was likely an even dustier room, but she was almost technically alone. Until she wasn't. The room she was heading for was even darker than the rest of the shop, and her gaze was transfixed by the shelves crammed with books, the titles just blurry enough for her not to be able to make out. She reached into her reticule and withdrew her spectacles when she felt something smash into her side, making her fall against one of the bookshelves, which began to teeter alarmingly. She yelped and thrust her hand out, the one holding the spectacles, and then began to fall, feeling as though her movements were arrested in time. Each moment, "I can't right myself. I'm halfway down. I hope the floor isn't too hard. I hope my spectacles don't crack," seeming as though it lasted an eternity, until she came to